Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology forecast for the end of March. It's like the 27th through April 2nd. And thanks for listening. I'm Hollis Taylor, and I am one of your astrologers here at Rainbow Soul Soulstrology. And you can find out all about me, get readings from me. There's a small chance I might sell that astrology course that I'm teaching right now, but I'm also happy to do a reading for you. And I do a very unusual thing called mediumship with astrology, which essentially I just take a look at the death. If you have somebody in your life that passed away and you're looking for deeper meaning, that's what it's all about. And so I hope you check out our website. Mine's divineandrogen.com. You can find it in the description.
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. Happy to be here. I'm a musician, a storyteller, author of the book The Dancing Hippo, a wonderful, beautiful, gender-neutral book about resilience. Who doesn't need a story about resilience in these times? And if you go to my website, brighthawkproductions.com, not only can you order the book, but you can order the ebook, which has 5 pieces of original music and songs and music you can dance with along, and I tell you the story, and it's a lot of fun. And you can always learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. And
I'm Lacrosse Ortiz. I do have a book out there, The Fool's Journey. It's coloring. I'm like, what is my book? The Fool's Journey. It's a color journal. Basically, you learn the tarot and you journal as you go. You know, how it inspires you. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I'm not really active on TikTok yet, but yeah, that's me.
Well, I'm glad everybody's here, and I know we've all had a pretty intense week, and there's a lot going on in the stars. It's hard to keep up with right now, and so I want to just invite everybody to take a little break, okay? Take a deep breath. Just blow it out all the way. You might do that a few times. As you feel your body relax, if you can close your eyes, that's the best. And just take a minute to imagine yourself staring up at the stars. Not all of those shiny lights in the sky are stars. Some of them are planets. And one keeps getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger as it begins to move towards you, moving closer and closer. And as the planet gets closer to you and it spins around, you begin to recognize this planet as Pluto. Pluto being this big, huge planet in front of you, seeming to hold power in front of you, spinning around and around in front of you. And the energy that you can feel within your heart and your soul is connected to change, to power, to understanding, and change, transformation, recognizing that life is full of transformations. From the moment we come into this world, from inside our mothers, to the cold world that we arrive in. And again, we transition. Some of us going through very intense transitions. And we have witnessed others as they finish their lives, as they transition maybe into sickness or the end of their life, and the beauty of life. The fullness of life. If it stayed the same the whole time, you know in your heart and soul it would not be the same. Knowing that those changes, those transitions are what makes life interesting and worth living. Maybe you can even imagine some of the ways you've changed over the years and how you've seen others change. And recognize the divine power in change. Some of us, we step into change. It doesn't have to pull us kicking and screaming. And as we step into change, we are embraced with bravery and strength. And as Pluto spins around in front of you, you feel the heaviness of that planet, the power of that planet, and you can watch it change in front of you. Watch its color shift. And you are reminded that change is the only constant. And with that piece of wisdom, Pluto backs up away from you, pulling with it its power and heaviness, pulling back into the universe, as far away from Earth as it can get. And you take with you that piece of wisdom in your heart. And remember, change is the only constant. Can we take a deep breath? And we come back into our toes, back into our feet, and feel our bottoms on the chair. And come back into the fullness of our body, here and now. ready to embrace the change of tomorrow. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you, Bright Hawk.
Pleasure.
Always good, always good.
Thank you.
Oh boy, my friends, I'm just gonna say, if you have felt like a little on the overwhelmed side for the last
Month.
month,
The last month. The last 3 weeks have been so freaking intense and so big astrologically. You can't just say the last week.
right? But I'm thinking that the week that we're in right now, by the time we get to the end of it,
Excuse me.
okay, yeah. It's going to be,
But the thing to always remember is we're all on this ride together. Everyone is experiencing the planets and the stars, whether they're aware of it or not. So congratulations to you for paying attention to how to use this energy, how to ride these currents, these waves, these pushes and pulls, because I find that astrology is an incredible opportunity to have a map, to have an unfolding of the territory and being able to understand, oh, it's like having a map and a weather forecast at the same time. Yeah. Why we call it Soulstrology, right?
That's right. Well, I'm going to bring up my charts here today.
So happy birthday to the Aries, because we're in the time of Aries, and oh my goodness, there is so much energy in Aries and in Taurus right now. If you have placements in Taurus and Aries, I can't imagine you're not feeling something.
Yeah.
All right. So, I was trying to decide, it was hilarious. I was trying to decide what charts I would bring on today. And sorry, I'm trying to get this out of the way. It's a Zoom thing. And I was like, well, so this is for the beginning of the week. And first of all, I'm just going to say there's a reason I did that meditation with Pluto, because you're going to feel things change. In fact, I want to give Anne Ortley credit. She said that it will probably feel like you start thinking about things differently. So, don't be surprised if something you thought a few weeks ago has now shifted into something else. Okay, because we're right during this broadcast and into this week here, Pluto has just moved into Aquarius. So it's
for 20 years.
Right.
Let's be very clear. Pluto is the slowest, has the longest, biggest orbit. And so
isn't it like the first time in 248 years or something like that?
Well, that's the whole cycle of Pluto. And so when we talk about the aspects of Pluto, and there's certain things that happen, if it's happening for the first time, sometimes for Pluto, because its orbit takes 246 years, as we talked about in way past broadcasts, we talked about America having its Pluto return, right? So, Pluto is one of those you don't usually see unless you're an incredible individual. Most of us don't see a Pluto return in our lifetimes, but it's one of those big movers. And I'm going to give credit to Nadia Shah. She said Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. So when you think about Mars, we think about action. We think about, I always think Mars, god of war, careful about aggression, right? But it's action oriented, right? It's forward moving. So when you think about Pluto, we think about transformation and change and things of that nature. So Pluto changing signs and entering into Aquarius, this is a really big deal for the entire planet because everyone is going to feel it one way or another. Whether you have what I don't know what you have in Aquarius, but it's going to hit your Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about the collective.
Mhm.
How are we doing what we do? And the other thing that people keep talking about is when Pluto moves into Pisces. Did I say
Pluto
that right?
moves
Moves
into
into
Aquarius.
Aquarius. I was like, wait, no, wait. Saturn moved into Pisces. Pluto moves into Aquarius. Technology, AI, revolutionary, transformational ways in which we communicate, like the get ready for the next wave of innovation.
Yeah. And I can see the AI happening already. I mean, and
Sure.
the beautiful thing, you know, and as a Uranian, Uranus is very strong in my chart. And so what does that mean? That means I'm very forward thinking. And in fact, I'm going to think of things before everyone else gets there. It's a revolutionary thinker. Okay. And so I tend to be very forward thinking. And so I'm just going to say that I have always seen that AI, the potential of AI, like the beautiful potential of AI. And just the other day, I was using AI with my nonprofit because it was able to write me a transcript so I could put captions on so that the video could have captions for people that couldn't hear. And for me, that's like, wow, that's awesome. And even for like some of our friends that even listen to the show, you know, I think that, you know, there's so many beautiful potentials that AI can do for us. Now, that could also mean that, you know, that there could be times of Neptune illusionary things, especially why Saturn is in Pisces. You know, you could think something is real, but it's not. Have you ever, you know, been on a chat or something with someone? You think it's a person, but it's actually a robot. Okay. And that's part of AI. But I also want to say that I know we've seen every godforsaken terrible movie about how AI is going to like take over the world or whatever, but I don't think any of that's true. I think most of that's bullshit. And this is why, because and maybe it will change in years to come, but AI can't be us. AI cannot transform and change, and every being, even artificial intelligence, is exposed to different experiences that in which influences their change, and the human experience will always be different than the artificial intelligence experience. And I feel like even if they did make a perfect replica of you in this moment, it wouldn't be able to change going forward, even if it was to experience most of the things that you did, right? Like, even if you took your phone everywhere you went, your phone is still not experiencing everything you are, right? And so
You're not your phone.
right. So that's what I think about artificial intelligence, but I do think Pluto's going to change the way we think about it.
I 100%. And how Pluto impacts us, you can't predict. And if you think you know, look out. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I think it's, yeah.
And
So-
I find it interesting that the current like government oppositional things happening right now are like, you know, we shot China's drone out of the sky, and then Russians shot American drone out of, and I'm like, yeah, so everybody's shooting everybody's robots. So I find that interesting.
Interesting.
And then I'm like, oh boy. So I you know, I don't know how that's going to turn out, my friends, but Pluto is not always easy, but Pluto is always in the sky and always has been and always will be. So it doesn't mean it's going to be terrible. It just means that we're done. Pluto is, well, not quite done, because it will be back. It's going to go retrograde. It's going to go back into Capricorn eventually here, and then go forward again. So it's not quite done with us yet with the whole banking system. But if you noticed, when Pluto left Capricorn, a bank, a big bank in, what is it, California,
Yeah,
or
Silicon
something,
Valley
crashed.
Bank crashed.
Yeah. So, that's Pluto in Capricorn.
Yeah.
That's Pluto Capricorn. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of intensity. Give yourself a lot of space to recognize that if it's felt like you've been drinking from a fire hose for the last month, you're not alone. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
And we've had really big planets changing signs, which means a really big impact to everyone's experience. Saturn moving into Pisces, Pluto moving into Aquarius, Mars moving out of Gemini, where it has been just, oh my God, so long. Finally, Mars is now in Cancer. So that really has a big impact and change on things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give Anne Ortley credit. I learned this morning about how now that Mars is sitting in Cancer, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So every time the moon moves, which is every several days, the moon changes signs every 2-3 days, it will change the flavor of Mars and how Mars is
flavored,
so to speak. So again, how that relates is careful with your words, paying attention to how you're feeling, and really being mindful of what's going on inside before blurting it out. Because we're in those kind of times where be careful of what you say. It just might be the last thing you say to someone.
Yeah, especially
it can change
Pluto.
Things like
yeah, you could just end up relationships. And so this chart is for early in the week. It's actually the 28th. But there wasn't a whole lot of difference between the 27th and the 28th as far as aspects go. But I noticed that there's that huge grand trine. You can see that huge blue triangle with Saturn and Mars and the moon and the node, south node down in Scorpio. It's all in water. So wherever we've come from, the emotionality that we've mastered and stuff like that is going to hold us steady through this time, because this grand trine pretty much goes on for most of the week. And so that's emotional balance. Assuming that you pull from transformations that you've already made in the past. So if you know that when you're feeling something, you need to just, go take 5 minutes alone in the bathroom or whatever it is you need to do to get your emotions together before you react, keep doing that. Okay. Whatever you've learned about your own emotional landscape, keep applying that. Don't forget old strategies, because you do have the potential to forget some of those strategies, because Pallas Athena, she's squaring like 4 planets in Aries right now. Chiron, which is about your wounding, and Jupiter, which makes everything bigger, and Mercury, which is about what we're talking about. So, Pallas Athena, she's all about strategy and, what you're up to. And so, and it's also squaring Vesta. So Vesta is that one that kind of looks like a flame inside of a book. And that's what you're dedicated to. Yeah. So Pallas Athena is warrior princess with lots of good strategies, but she's squaring all of those things. So, you just want to pay attention to your strategies, be willing to give up and be flexible about your strategies, be willing to change the plan, man, and be willing to, go with the flow. I think that's the best advice I've heard.
Yeah, because there's a lot of squares on Monday, Tuesday, and this week. And honestly, that thinking through what you want, where you're going, how are you going to get there. Because the moon is in Gemini when we start off the week. It's a waxing crescent, because remember this last week we just had a new moon. Happy New Year for astrology. New moon in Aries, equinox, everything like that last week. So now we have the moon squaring Neptune. And so that conversation is going to be, the moon in Gemini is what? It's an air sign, and it's the thinker, right? It's evaluating and thinking. It can be very diplomatic. It can be witty and charming. On the other side, Gemini moon can also be a little bit disorganized and flighty. But really, it's an active mind. That's the thing I would say. So the square with Neptune is an opportunity, really, to really evaluate what are your dreams and how are you going to get there. And so that can be a beautiful thing. When Tuesday arrives, the moon goes home to Cancer. And so when the moon is home in Cancer, think about how you are when you arrive home. It's like, kick off the shoes, get yourself comfortable. And so the moon in Cancer has some nice aspects on Tuesday. It has a sextile to Vesta, Jupiter, and Mercury. And of course, Mercury has just moved into Aries. So that there's some generative conversations that could happen, that could be interesting. Careful with Mercury in Aries, because Mercury is the planet of communication, and Aries is all about, it's the first sign of the zodiac. It's fire, it's active, it's proactive. And so careful with your words, because a Mercury in Aries means the words can come out sharper than you mean. They can be harder than you meant to be. And so, just a little warning on that score.
Okay.
And then, of course, the moon is still in Cancer on Wednesday, and then we end up with a lot of squares. The moon is in a square with Chiron, Mercury, Vesta, Jupiter. It's trining Neptune still, and it'll be in a sextile with Venus, Uranus, and conjunct Pallas Athena. So
your belief system will help.
Lots of energy.
Your belief system will help you, but with all those squares, Jupiter, that's going to make all of this bigger. Mercury is about communication. Vesta is about what you're dedicated to. It's all that stuff up there in Aries.
Right.
And Chiron, they're all kind of on top of each other or conjunct. So, and they're all in Aries, making the Aries energy very strong this year, very empowered, very big. And so, with the moon squaring them, I'm going to just say that your beliefs will be good. So, if you're into affirmations, if you're into mindfulness or mindful thinking, those are the kinds of things you want to stick with, because they're going to be able to help you through this time. Because that's going to be the big challenge.
It's a really good idea. Affirmations, especially with Mercury and Aries.
Yeah. And, and then the 30th, I think this day is actually not the 30th. This is actually April 2nd. So,
well, the 30th, I'll just tell you that you can almost see it. You can almost see that cradle. So a cradle, you have involved in the cradle is Saturn, Mars, the moon, the North Node. I mean, it's just, I don't even have to tell you what this stuff means. All you have to hear is, wow, that's a lot of aspects. That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of conversations happening in the sky.
Mm-hmm. But the cradle is what's meant to hold you.
Yeah.
So with Pisces and Cancer and Taurus, I'm just gonna say that it's gonna have a lot to do with like emotional and being grounded with those emotions. So you'll probably feel very grounded in them as long as you're on your path. If you're finding yourself very ungrounded and very off the charts emotionally, then you're going to just want to check in with your path, maybe check in on your chart, maybe figure out what's going on, look at the transits. Was there something you were supposed to shift that you didn't quite shift yet? Is there something you haven't quite, that you're supposed to be working on Those are the kinds of things that are going to be helpful. So if you're doing some sort of personal transformation, that's going to help. The cradle's going to help you feel grounded.
Good.
Yeah, and with then the moon's going to move into Leo, huh? On the
Right,
31st? Okay.
So the evening on the 30th, the moon moves into Leo. So Leo, as we know, is a fire sign. Leo is the noble leader, right? And Leo is going to make sure that there's broad-mindedness and creativity, and Leo's fun-loving, and Leo moon has an instinct for leadership. Can be self-indulgent, self-centered, stubborn, overbearing, bullying, those kind of things. But really, the Leo moon, there's this beautiful opportunity for being the leader of your life, for how you operate in the world, and what you want to bring, and how you bring your joy and your cleverness into the world.
All right. And I think, as we go forward, the one thing that I want to point out is that if you notice on the chart here, it's been going on all week, is that there's that grand trine in water. Okay. And it also has a kite. See how it has two sextiles going towards, yeah, that's Mercury. And so because of that, I'm just going to point out that, this means that you really have the potential to fly through this in a good way, as long as you do the things that you planned, especially the things that you've already worked on in the past. So if you started doing yoga, if you started doing mindfulness practice, anything like that will help you, because Neptune is in a positive, in a good aspect most of the time, except for that it's in opposition to Ceres, which is in Virgo, which means, you may actually feel like, I don't feel like doing it, but you need to do it. Okay. Just do it. Just do it.
Just tell yourself, this is good for me.
Yeah, do the Nike thing or something. I don't know. Just do it.
So on the 31st and the 1st, the moon's going to be squaring Neptune, squaring Uranus, squaring Venus, and I'm sorry, not Neptune, squaring Uranus and Venus. We've been talking about how the moon is opposite Pluto, so that's still happening. And that's a conversation again. Venus is about relationships, and so we're looking at our relationships. We're evaluating how things are going. The moon is also conjunct Lilith and in a trine with Jupiter. And of course, trines with Jupiter is all about bringing the good stuff.
That's usually a pretty good deal. And especially with moon conjunct Lilith, it's going to really make it very emotional about being independent, about your personal independence, especially
Are you sensing
feminist.
a theme? Are you sensing a theme? We got a lot of water. We got a lot of emotion.
Right. Well, and by the time we get to April 2nd, which is the chart that you see in front of you now, you'll notice that Saturn is in opposition to the moon. And the Saturn in Pisces in opposition to the moon in Virgo means there might be part of you that tries to nurture yourself, try to take care of yourself, but there could be some illusions pulling you away. Maybe you have a belief system that yoga doesn't really work, or that you have to do certain poses, or it's only for skinny people, or whatever kind of belief system you might have. You might want to check in on your belief systems, because they're probably not true. Saturn in Pisces in opposition to the moon in Virgo, that's the first thing I'm going to tell you to check. Check your belief systems. They could be incorrect. So, just challenge those belief systems. They're probably not right.
And here's a simple way to think about it. How well do you see in water? How well do you hear in water? Not very well, right? So recognize that simple metaphor is the perfect metaphor for this.
Right.
That it could, you think you're seeing things, and then a ripple goes across the water, and all of a sudden you think, oh no, that's not what I'm looking at all.
Hmm.
And so that's one way to think about it. And yeah, I would be mindful of that.
And
Now the moon goes into Virgo in this chart. You can see it very clearly. Once the moon goes into Virgo, there's a sextile with Mars. So that's real positive energy in the action department. We're talking about that opposition to Saturn, but it's also trining Mercury, which is really a lovely aspect. So when the moon is in Virgo, the moon is in Virgo is about nurturing. It's about seeing the collective, and what can we bring. The moon in Virgo is mindful of how we take care of each other. So that's lovely. Think about how to take care of yourself. How am I taking care of myself? Am I doing the things I need to do for me to feel good? Because we're moving fast, folks. All the planets are direct, and the energy that we're all experiencing, if it feels like someone hit the accelerator, it's because it is. That's what's happening. So that really want to emphasize you are worth taking care of in a good way.
Yeah, definitely take care of yourself, even when you don't feel like it, because that will definitely be the theme all week with
sure.
Neptune and Ceres in opposition.
Yeah.
All right, my friends, I want to offer you a little tarot reading for this week.
Well, let's give lacrosse before we jump into the tarot. You want to add anything? Say anything?
Well, we're still in the season of the hawk, and I think this now more than ever, use the flying high above the situation, using the keen sight before actually doing anything. This would be the perfect time, because it's going to seem like everything's, like you're saying, everything's going to be water. But if you just rise above it, rise above the water, and use your keen eyesight before you actually do anything or say anything or make any decisions, just really take that moment to just go above it first. See it from a different perspective.
That's great advice. That's one of the things I constantly say to myself. Okay, get in your hawk body. You need some altitude. You need to get a much bigger view of what's going on. And then the little shit is really back in its place. It's really little when you're flying it way high. And you see what's really happening. And that's a great, great piece of advice and medicine, really. The animal medicine is beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for bringing that.
Oh,
that's good.
Super important.
All right. What do we have in the tarot?
All right, my friends. Now, in the tarot this week, for the past, I want to point out of the beauty and the wonderful relationships we do have, the celebrations we've had. The Spirit wants you to remember those things. Remember the things that you have had. Remember the good times you had. Don't forget about pride. And, whatever good time you had in the recent past, this is a reminder. 10 of Cups is also about like marriage and commitments and relationships and things like that. But, it can also, even if you're single or something, it can also just be a reminder of a great time that you had or a celebration you had in the past. Now, going forward in the here and now, this is a reminder of our ability to transform. This is the High Priestess. This, as you can see, she kind of looks like a moth or something. And it's a reminder of transformation, because the moth is about transformation. It's just like the butterfly in that, it has a similar transitional period like a butterfly. And we know butterflies represent transgender people. And so this High Priestess is very much about transformation and things like that. And if you take a look real close, which I was hoping it would kind of focus, but it's not going to. But she has like a half-eaten fruit, and she has a rose with little thorns growing on it up her chest. And what that is it's about fresh growth. It's about new things. It's about new things coming to fruition because of your transformation. So be open to the new things that you've stepped on, the new paths that you've stepped forward in. They're very important because they are taking you to where you want to go. Because we went from the 10 of Cups, which is, Oh my gosh. And then we're going to go to this, the Empress card. Okay? And the
Beautiful.
Empress card is very much about having all of life and beauty and all of its ability to bring life into you is there. This is all about the great mother goddess. This is about the planet Earth. This is about all of the great cycle of life. The Great Empress is a really strong card, and it's a reminder of how we are very much part of the cycle of life. And just think about the whole reading now. Think about the past being, the reminder of beautiful relationships and the beauty and the wonderful commitments we have come from, and going forward, the transitions we've made recently, the good things that we're transforming and changing, and the growth we're receiving. And going forward, remember that we are part of the great cycle of life. We are part of the Great Mother. And as we step forward, hold on to all of that all beings are precious, all beings are present, and that we are part of one, and one is all. So we are headed that way, which is great news as far as I'm concerned.
That's
And
beautiful.
so
That card reminds me of how will you walk when you remember you have everything you need.
oh yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. So
All
we
right.
wish you the very best with your week. We send you lots of love and hope that you are able to surf it in a great way for you.
Do the best you can this week, my friends. You're getting through this. Don't worry. Just keep doing the growth. Keep doing the things you know are good for you. And please like, subscribe, share, comment, share with
We
us
really
what you
appreciate
think.
that.
I would love to hear about your personal chart. Where are you in your Saturn returns now, or are you experiencing some other important transits? What's in Pisces for you right now?
Yeah, I'd love to know how some of our Taurus friends are doing, because there's so much going on also
Or
in
Aries.
Taurus.
Good God.
And of course, we're coming up to an eclipse, which will be in Taurus. So when that happens, we'll get to it when we get to it. But if you're feeling a lot, if you're a Taurian or you have strong Taurus placements, yeah, I would say the people who are feeling the most right now would be that stellium in Aries, the stellium in Taurus.
Yeah.
If you have anything in Pisces because of Saturn entering it, whatever you've got in Aquarius because of Pluto just entered it, there's a lot going on. So we wish you all the very, very best.
Yeah, and just know that the stars love you and it is leading you to a good place. So just follow it. It is taking you to a good place.
That's right.
All right, my friends. Thank you. Thanks for
Much
listening
love.
to Rainbow Soul.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.